Hey guys, got a little bit of a shorter one for you this week. I've been making lesson content for my Cone Zone channel. Check that out, it's linked down below. I also have a Patreon. If you want to check that out, there's tons of lesson content on there. But enough of that. Let's get into what we came here for. So I have had the absolute pleasure, obviously, of working for Jack and Kyle for quite a while. I was a fan first and still am. Probably more so than I am anything else. So having even a small contribution to their catalog in the form of these riffs has been, for me, a crowning achievement in my life. So as I recall, the first riff, of course, was Kyle and I sitting around playing guitars one afternoon and happened upon that riff, and that made it over to the studio one day. The whole end part was made just improvising drop D riffs to a click track. So the guys were just kind of sculpting direction. The producer and everybody was just kind of, now go this way, now do this, and that kind of thing. So, and it was just a bunch of drop D riffs, whatever came to mind. And then they were later kind of built into some sort of order that made sense. But the interesting one for me is the middle part, because I still don't know how that thing ended up in there. But it was, again, a day just in the studio and a click track is running and it's, here, just do this and whatever. And I had this little fingerstyle progression from, the late 90s probably. I had a big fingerstyle phase in the late 90s, early 2000s. I still love playing fingerstyle. But in that time, I was playing around with these open chord voicings and trying different patterns. And that was kind of I guess you could call it a piece I was working on, even though I don't think I ever would have made anything out of it. But somehow it just made it into the track, and I'll never forget how excited I was to eventually hear, what they had done with it with the Vanquished Foes. I thought it was so cool. So in the case with the metal, it's, again, something I'm very proud of being able to contribute even just a little bit. The bulk of what makes that song the song is what the guys are doing on top of it. But even so, as a guitar player, it's really special to me. And every time I hear someone play that riff, I don't have any other thing that I've done musically where I hear people that I don't know playing the riff. So you're sitting here looking at a fan of this band just like you are. I have the absolute pleasure, again, of getting to work for them as well. So it's often surreal. It really does feel surreal to me sometimes. And playing that song live, almost kind of make a point sometimes to kind of thank the song in some way, as nerdy as that sounds, but to acknowledge it before I play it, that this was a special thing that I got to be a part of in my life. And then when it landed on Guitar Hero 3, that made it that much bigger. And made me that much prouder of it, because growing up, all I wanted to be was a guitar player. And Guitar Hero 3, when those games started coming out, that seemed to be introducing guitar to a whole new group of people. And the popularity of that game obviously was huge. So yeah, I've, talked about the metal before, and, when the few interviews I, get to do or whatever. So, all this information is out there, I know, but I just thought it'd be interesting to sit down and talk about it and walk you guys through that riff and how I play it. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so this progression starts on an E minor chord, but it's voiced with some open strings. So it's going to look a little bit like an E minor 7 chord, like this. So that's 7th fret of the 5th string, 9th fret of the 4th string. And then if we were playing it with a bar, we'd have our bar here, but we lift that off so we get an open G string, and then our 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then an open E string. And it's just an E minor chord with some open strings ringing through it. So our pattern goes like this. So we're going to play the 5th and 2nd strings together first. And then we're 4th string, 3rd string with 1st and 2nd fingers. And then we're just going to come right back down there to the root again, and then the open E. Followed by that open G string on the very end of it. So slowly we have this. Now we're going to do the same pattern. We're moving our shape down. Now this time, instead of a 7 chord, since we're just moving diatonically down the E minor scale, we have a D7 shape. But again, we're not here playing that with the bar down. So the bar is up and we have this shape. So it's 5th fret of the 5th string, then 7th fret of the 4th string, and 7th fret of the 2nd string. So we're getting some open strings in there again, which happens throughout the whole part. So same pattern with the right hand. So we have. Now we move that same exact shape down a full step. So 3rd fret of the 5th string and 5th fret of the 4th and 2nd strings. Now for that next one, we do change the pattern up just a little bit. So we're just going to slide up to that D chord and we're just going to go like this. So sliding up to that 5th fret of the 2nd string, we're playing the 5th string and then the 4th string. Playing the bass note again, then back to the E string and then the open G string. So up to there we have this. Now, that second time through is the same as the first time through up to that point, and then this is where it does that kind of quicker movement through the chords. Once we get down to that C voicing there and the riff departs from its original progression, we're doing this slide up to the 5th fret, same voicing. And we're just using thumb and middle finger playing 5th and 2nd strings. I will often voice the whole chord just because I think probably muscle memory just kind of puts it there, but just sliding up and then sliding down. And then our B7 shape or B minor 7 shape, but only playing the 2nd fret of the 5th string and 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And then back up to that C. Same pattern as before, but with an A minor 7 chord and a hammer on. So we're playing the open A string and then hammer on 0 to 1 on the 2nd string. Same shape once again on that back up to that B minor 7 type of shape, but again with the open strings. And then here's where we go down to E minor, so 2nd fret of the 5th and 4th strings, just a standard open E minor chord down there. And you have these strings using thumb, 1st, and middle finger, 6, 5, 4, and then 5, 4, 3, and then 4, 3, 2. Do them back to 5, 4, 3. And then back over to the 4, 4, 3, 2. So like this slow. Same A minor to B minor shape there with the same right hand pattern. and then back to this E minor. Now this time we're going to go all the way through the chord. So 6-5-4, 5-4-3, 4-3-2, those being the strings that you're playing with thumb first, second. So at some point you got to go from here to here, so some of those notes may be muted. And this, as long as that top E harmonic rings through, you're pretty much good. So for that last one, I do use thumb first, middle, ring to hit the final note. That's the point at which then I have to scramble to take the pick out of my mouth and hit the overdrive pedal to get back to the next part. So that is the middle of the metal, played on electric guitar, which is what it was recorded on. However, the part was originally, I think, written on this old Alvarez guitar that I have. So I'm going to get that out right now and show you how it might have sounded when I was first noodling around with it in the late 90s. So this is a 1979 Alvarez DY75. It's an Alvarez Yairi, I think it's pronounced. This would have been, in the late 70s, their answer to a Martin D28. It's a pretty standard dreadnought. This one does have some special things about it. There's a very ornate purfling, which is a word I just learned, alongside the binding that goes all the way up the fretboard, so it deletes the possibility for side dots. So I need side dots, so I've never played this guitar live. Obviously, classical guitar players do that all the time, no problem, so feel free to point and laugh. But this also has abalone dots, which kind of camouflage themselves into the ebony. So it is a great sounding guitar, but it is very hard sometimes to know where I'm at. So it's just a guitar that I often will just sit around and kind of noodle on, which is what I was doing when I first acquired this. And it was just learning some fingerstyle stuff, and I stumbled upon this progression. And there it is, the middle of the metal. And I'll see you guys next time.